Hey everyone, Chris here, your guide at the Lorcana Tutor. Today we're going to be doing another deck tech, and we're going to be building a Shimmering Skies deck around one of the most hyped cards of set 5. And if you watch any of my set reviews, this is one of the 3 cards I rated as an S, and we're going to be looking at Pete Games Referee. So the idea with this card is it's a 3-cost inkable 3/3 that quests for 1, and it says when you play this character, opponents can't play actions until the start of your next turn. So this is supposed to really shut down decks that want to play a lot of actions. So whole new world decks, be prepared decks, any of these kind of mid-rangey control decks, you can get a pretty good advantage on if you can time your Pete right. And what we're going to be looking to do is just spam Pete's and try to get them on the board and get this effect to happen as much as possible to try to lock your opponents out from playing these really strong actions. And to do that, we're going to pair it with Amethyst and using one of the most powerful packages in the game. We're going to be using the Madam Mim. So she has the ability where whenever you play this character, you need to return a character on the board to your hand, or else she gets banished right away. But because of this perceived downside, all of her characters are overstated. So we're going to start with just the Snake and Fox. Those are 2, again, tried and true. We may look at adding in some elephants at some point, but again, I'm not sure how well it fits. We want a little cheaper bounces, and having a rush is a really powerful thing to help control the board. And then again, this is just a nice 2-cost that has a good stat line. When you play Madam Mims, it's like peanut butter and jelly. You got to play your Merlin. So we're going to be looking at the rabbits. So these Merlin cards get an effect when they enter and then when they leave the battlefield. So they're great targets for the bounce effect. Really, really nice synergy. Again, been meta-defining since set 2. So we have Rabbit, which draws a card whenever it enters and leaves, and Goat, which is going to gain you a lore whenever it enters and leaves. And Crab is another card that sometimes see play, sometimes it doesn't. Again, much more meta dependent, depending on really it's like locations, these big health locations. If we need to take care of them, if they're running rampant, we can put in a Crab to make that a little bit easier. And another card I think that works really well with this bounce is this Benja. So Benja is a 3-cost inkable 2/3 that quests for 2, which is really nice. And then it says when you play this character, you may banish chosen items. So a lot of this is for these blue decks. So red, blue, blue steel that want to get Lucky Dime out, that want to get a Fishbone Quill out. If you can time this really well, you can really disrupt their plans. We don't need 4 of this. I like to run 2. So sometimes my thought when I'm going through and adding in certain quantities of cards is 4 is like a card that is core to my game plan that I want to try to see as frequently as possible. It helps if it's inkable because then I can kind of work with it. But again, Merlin Rabbit is going to be our main draw engine, so we want to see that as much as possible. If it's a card like Benja where it's geared toward a specific matchup, I'll usually do 2, 3 if I think it has a little more widespread value across. This could go up to 3. What we're going to start seeing with this deck is that it's going to be a little bit lower to the ground. So it's going to be a mid-range, so it's not going to be super aggressive. It's not going to be control-focused. It's going to be mid-range, so you can kind of change in or out depending on what kind of deck you're playing against, with a little bit more of an aggressive focus, so a little bit more going low to the ground. Trying to build a wide board and then use the Pete's to stop your opponents from be preparing you or, doing grab your swords or anything like that. So I could see this going up to 3 for right now. I'm going to leave it at 2. But again, a lot of these quantities can be fine-tuned to really target what you're playing against and how your play style that you like to play against. So this is really the main kind of bounce package where we're going to get a lot of value from playing things down on their effects right away and then bouncing them back and being able to repeat that. Another staple, I think, in Steel that I think works really well in this deck is we're going to run this Robin Hood package. So this 1-cost Robin Hood is really just a shift target. What we're really focusing on here is this big Robin Hood. It's a 5-cost inkable 3/6. It shifts for 3. And then during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you gain 2 lore. So it quests for 2 lore on its own, but if you can take something out and banish it, you'll get your 2 lore anyway, so you can help control the board that way. And then whenever this character is banished in a challenge, you can draw a card. So really good card. Again, the price tag is there to reflect it as well, but works really well in what we want to be doing. Still gaining early lore, but controlling the board, getting us into that middle game pretty comfortably with a lot of lore, so we can kind of close out the game as quickly as possible. So we have a pretty good turn 1. We don't want to bounce this back, so we need to look for a turn 2. And again, luckily for us, we have a great 2-drop in Mr. Smee, 2-cost inkable 3/3 that quests for 2. But at the end of your turn, if this character is an exerted and you don't have a captain character in play, you deal 1 damage to this character. So we quest for 2, which is great. Again, can be really aggressive, has a great stat line, so that way you can challenge out if needed. And it's just really versatile. The one downside is if you don't have a captain in play, you take 1 damage on it. So what we're going to look at to try to mitigate that is a captain. And we're going to look at another 1-drop here. At this point in the game, I'm not sure if this is the right play. So we're going to look at some other 1-drops that we could add in that looking on deck list online that we're kind of going back and forth. But right now, I'm thinking we're going to start with this Captain Hook. It's a 1-cost inkable 1/2 that quests for 1, but it has a challenger +2. So when it's challenging, it's really a 3/2 character. And the idea behind this is, 1, it's a captain, so it gives Mr. Smee the protection from taking the extra damage. But really in a meta where I think hyper aggro is going to be really strong, I think especially locally for me too, I think there's going to be a lot of hyper aggro. This is just going to help you trade up with some of those big bodyguard characters, help you take Daisy Duck out that much easier. I think it's a little bit more of a meta call than anything, but if you think that there's like an aggressive deck, playing the hook out is, I think, can be really helpful. It's not really right on our game plan, so if you're focusing on, okay, well, what do we want to do? What we really want to do is be able to draw cards and quest. So we're going to look at Chernabog's followers. You'll see here I put 3 of the Captain Hook, so a little bit on the same line as the Benja here. So it's 2 because I think it's a little bit more geared towards just the aggro matchup, but since it has the synergy with Smee, I'm going to put 3. I'm going to put in just 1 Chernabog's followers for right now. I'm not sure how many 1-drops in general I want to be running. 8 is kind of what's been typical, but again, if it's a faster meta, maybe we want to put more in. So you could definitely replace the 4 or the 3 Captain Hooks and just run 4 of these Chernabog's followers. If you don't care too much about the hyper aggro, if you think that you're okay with that matchup. Another 1-drop we could run is the Magic Broom, which is this 1/2. Both Chernabogs and the Broom allow you to draw a card, just in different ways. So the Chernabogs is whenever you quest with this character, you can banish it to draw a card. And the Broom is whenever you play another character, you can banish this to draw a card. So again, really good for one ink to be able to get a character down, do what you need to do with it, and then at the right time be able to draw a card, because drawing cards is really good, which is a great segue into looking into kind of what we're going to start to add in more songs and actions here. So the first one we're going to look at, like I said, drawing cards is good, so let's get some more card draw. We're going to do some 4 friends on the other side, 3-cost inkable song that says draw 2 cards. Great card, staple since set 1. And one of the great things about running Steel is that we get a lot of targeted damage, targeted removal. So our goal is to try to get a big board, use these Steel removal cards to help control the board, start questing, chipping away, getting towards the middle, getting to turn 5 or 6 and having 10-ish lore or so, and then trying to close the game out with those Peats, and making it tough for your opponent to really deal with your board. So let's look at some of the removal spells that we're going to add in. So I think one of the great ones we have is this Along Came Zeus, particularly because it's going to synergize with some of our strong 4-drops, right? I think being able to go, in an ideal world, turn 1, Robin Hood, turn 2, Mr. Smee, turn 3, we're going to shift our big Robin Hood on, and then there you could even sing this Along Came Zeus if there's something that has 5, or is behind a bodyguard or something that you just really want to get rid of. But next turn you play a goat or a rabbit, they can then sing this. You can bounce. Again, there's a lot of really, really cool ways. I'm going to put 4 of them in here. I think they're really good. With the removal package and all these cards, you can definitely adjust the ratios as you see fit. But for right now, I'm going to start with 4. Another, I think, staple card in Steel is this Grab Your Swords. This is another one that's geared towards fighting these hyper aggro decks or aggressive decks in general. It's a 5-cost uninkable song, and it deals 2 damage to each opposing character. So remember what we said with the Robin Hood. It shifts on 3, but it costs 5, so it's going to be able to sing this. Again, really good if your opponent just has a board that's starting to get out of control, very widespread. You can deal a lot of damage and hopefully take out a good amount of stuff. We want some lower cost removal, so we're going to look at Boom, which is a 2-cost inkable action that says deal 2 damage to chosen character or location. So having a cheap removal like this, I think, is helpful. Just for finishing off some last character, you could challenge into Hook and take out this with a Boom. I think that doesn't feel super great if you're trying to take out Daisy Duck, but if they play a Lilo 1/1, you can just kill it before it even has a chance to do anything. Right now we are at 10 uninkables. We are going to be adding some more in a little bit, but an option that you could run with instead of this is Fire the Cannon. So Fire the Cannons is the same card, except for these things that are different. It's a 1-cost uninkable. So it costs 1 less, but you can't ink it, which is a downside. But it deals 2 damage to chosen character. So if the benefit of this is that it hits location. So if we start getting into, we started to see Queen's Castle be super prevalent last set. And I don't know how much that's really going to change. There's definitely more location hate this time around, but being able to hit a location to finish something off can be really, really beneficial. The fact that it's inkable is awesome. It does cost twice as much than this. So again, you can kind of decide on, depending on how many uninkables you are comfortable playing, what your meta is, which card is best. For right now, I'm going to stick with the uninkable card, or the inkable card, just because I like having the versatility of that. But in the same light, we're going to look at, card Let the Storm Rage On. So again, it's going to deal 2 damage to a chosen character. It does cost 3, but it's a song and it's uninkable. But it allows us to also draw a card. We know drawing cards is great. We can sing this with our Benja. We can sing this with our Fox. We can sing this with the Pete. A lot of really good singers that we have to be able to get this down. Being able to deal 2 damage, just finish something off, and then draw a card, cycle through our deck a little bit more. I'm going to put 2 of those in there to start, and you can figure out what's going on from there. So right now we are at 53 cards, crazy enough. What I want to look at is, we've talked about these locations, and being in Amethyst, we have access to 2 really good locations. Okay, I'm just going to look at it. So the first one, and this is the one, the OG, is the Queen's Castle. It's a 4-cost inkable location, 7 willpower, costs 1 to move there. It gets you 2 lore. And at the start of your turn, for each character you have here, you may draw a card. This has just been when it sticks, it can end the game really quickly, both in getting you card advantage and getting you 2 extra lore per turn. I think that this is been tried and proven, and I think that it's really, really good. There is a new kid on the block called the Library, which is a 3-cost inkable location, has 8 willpower. Costs 1 to move there as well. Gets you 1 lore at the start of your turn. But it says whenever a character is banished while here, you may draw a card. So this one, the draw, you can control when you're going to be drawing the cards. You can make a little, maybe not inefficient trades, but you can start making trades, controlling the board, and get your card back. So you can draw cards for your characters being banished, and you can be in control of that, as opposed to having to wait until the start of your turn, and your opponent can either get rid of your characters, get rid of your location, and it's kind of a dead card. So right now, between these 2 cards, again, I think the Queen's Castle is proven. It's great. It's definitely a little bit more aggressive, too, where it's going to get you 2 lore, and that's nothing to take for granted or underplay. I think that that's really strong. I think that there's value here, and right now, as I'm play testing, I'm kind of just doing an even split just to see what feels good. But if you want something that's a little more tried and true, you can go for Queen's Castle and even try a couple of libraries. But right now, I'm doing 2 and 2, and we'll see how that adjusts throughout. Now we have 3 spots left. And remember, our game plan is get people down early, try to quest, control their board, either using Robin Hood or all of our great steal actions, build up a board, and then try to put down a Pete to make it really tough for them to deal with. They can still challenge into us, but being able to not have a be prepared, not be able to play a grab your swords, under the sea, things like that are going to be really strong. So to help shore us up against that weak side of being able to be challenged, we're going to run 3 of these Shen Paos. Hopefully I said that correct. So these are 5-cost inkables, 4/7 bodyguards. Big, beefy stats. You're just there to protect your characters. They're really tough to deal with. Maui doesn't get through it. If they're in steel, they're going to need to, do a... And then along came Zeus and a Baboom, or this, and it's just a lot of resources you have to dedicate to this one character. So we're at 57 cards. I'm going to put 3 in here to get us at 60. There are a bunch of other cards we can consider when we're running this list. Something I might look at a little bit down the road is this Pinocchio. So we saw this a bunch in set 2 and set 3. It's a 2-cost uninkable 1/1. When you play this character, you may exert chosen opposing character. So this is another great card to be putting in with this Madame Mim package, where you play the Pinocchio, you exert something, you play a fox, and you can challenge it right away. Again, really good for just controlling your opponent's board. Might be something I look at going in the deck a little bit later. We could probably come down on the Pete's and go down to 3 or so. I know that is kind of the card that we're building around right now, but sometimes your opponents may not have actions, and just having 3, but having stuff that's good for clearing the board will be better. So I'm going to post the deck list of this in the description. Please check it out. Again, if you like these videos, please let me know. I'm just doing it for fun, but if you do like it, please leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe. It lets me know that people are actually seeing it. It's not just getting lost in the void. For this deck, I don't think it's super valuable to run through some games on Inktable. If you would be interested in seeing some gameplay, let me know, and I can see, maybe I can try to find a way to get some games with friends and show you what this deck is capable of. But thank you so much for watching the video. I will see you in the next one. Bye.